I'm doing the fire sign readings a day early so I can get a little bit ahead of schedule. I have plans for tomorrow. But we will be doing the fire sign readings today. That's going to be Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I'm going to be using my first tarot deck, which is the Egyptian deck. The correspondences of this deck are slightly different. Additionally, there's not a suited minor arcana. The minor arcana don't have suits. I will also be using my Cards Against Humanity deck for clarifiers. And over on the members side of the channel, I will be using this piece of mica from Simi Valley for the crystal scrying. I'm sorry, the dogs can be kind of loud. There's really nothing going on out there. They'll figure that out soon enough. So we're going to start with Aries. And Aries, if you would, just go ahead and set your intention for the reading and allow any thoughts or ideas associated with that intention to rise up to the forefront of your mind and wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. And if any of these things are causing you discomfort or stress, or you are in physical discomfort, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. So as you inhale, draw in divine source energy along with those delicious oxygen molecules. And draw that oxygen deep into each and every cell of your body so that it can take part in the electron transport chain in your mitochondria. And this is going to have the effect of pushing all of those negative vibrations and lower vibrational energies through the electron transport chain. And we're going to just link them up with that final CO2 molecule that we'll be expelling with our breath. You're just going to release all those waste products right out into the universe, and they will return to source, and they will be transmuted. So I'm going to record your timestamp, Aries. And then we can get started. So here in the past for you Aries, I have the card of the Navigator, and it's showing up reversed. This could have been a time where you needed to forge a new path, where you needed to navigate, if you would, treacherous terrain, because we see below this alligator. This is Neptunian energy. So sometimes things being a little unclear. Uh, but the navigator always having clarity of vision and knowing which way to go. So things could have been a bit difficult, but you would have had a clear vision and a clear direction. That time has passed. The card is in the reverse. Here in the current situation, in the place of the significator Aries, we have attraction. Now, this is mercurial energy. This is not Venusian energy. Additionally, we do have Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty, depicted at the top. And we also have this solitary figure, very femme presenting, sniffing a lotus blossom. Now, because this is mercurial energy and not Venusian energy, we could look at attraction not just as romantic attraction, but attraction to material goods, attraction to things, attraction to places, attraction to ideas, that the scope opens up on that, and there's overall attraction, things being attractive to you being attractive to prospective employers, you being attractive to prospective partners, and perhaps just being perceived as more attractive by those around you. The crossing energy, Aries, for the significator is cooperation, and this card is showing up in the upright. Again, we have Neptunian energy, much like we were seeing with the navigator. So, whereas in the past, the navigator is a solitary figure, having to guide the ship alone and having to make those decisions by oneself. Here now we have collaboration coming in, such that at this time you might be attracting collaborators into your life, Aries. Down here in the Imam Sili, we have meditation, and this being Uranian energy, having to do with social groups and having to do with novel concepts. So you might have a novel concept that you are incubating at this time. We have this cube at the top with eyes all around it, that through meditation, your consciousness kind of sends these lines of sight out. And so you are opening your perceptions. You are working on determining the truth. We have the feather of truth down at the bottom. This figure is also taking notes. So you could be incubating these things, perhaps meditating to clear the mind entirely, but possibly meditating on new ideas and then taking notes and then meditating on that, and kind of this incubation of thought. Because, of course, by taking those notes, you'll be able to communicate those ideas to your collaborators. From your perspective, Aries, we have this card about avarice. Now, this is Saturnian energy. So Saturn has to do with concretion, It's a very slow moving energy. It's a very established energy. We have this figure tabulating again and again and again their stores in their warehouse without ever allowing those resources to be used. So the whole point of things like money and having and accruing resources is to have them when you need them, that they can be used to accomplish goals, to achieve means, that they are not the means themselves. And so, where we have this idea of avarice, there's kind of this accrual and this hoarding of the resources, but that they are not yet being utilized for the proper means. Now, sometimes this hoarding of resources by one person can mean that the resources then are not available for others. And so that's why the word avarice is used here. But in this particular case, Aries, I see this more as a preparation process that you are undergoing. That some period of growth in conjunction with this cooperation is going to be taking place with you and around you soon. From an outside person's perspective, looking in, we have the star, and this is reversed. So in this deck, we're looking at Saturn in Libra energy. And that Saturn in Libra is establishment of equanimity in partnerships. So, some of your potential collaborators, Aries, at this time might perceive you hoarding these resources and not understand that these are to be used for this joint project, and rather perceive that you are withholding your energies from that particular social group. Here we see that the star is pouring out the liquid. Liquid represents the substance, the emotional substance that we have to give to others. It's like our blood, sweat, and tears. And here, because that card is reversed, that substance is being reserved and held back. So people might see that at this time and not fully understand why that is being done. I apologize for the dogs barking. Here in the future, we have a card that's very similar in some ways to the star. It's versatility. So here we're looking at that Uranian energy having to do with novel concepts and social groups. And here we see again this motif of this figure pouring out the two vessels of their energies, two disparate types of energy, that they have these different resources they can pull from. So this card shows up in the reverse, but it is showing up in a future placement such that you may be exercising this versatility moving forward. It looks like right now, because things are in an incubation stage, you are starting to kind of gather the people around you and the resources around you that you will require for this project, and that you have the potential to display this versatility in the future. One thing to be mindful of, and I beg your pardon, I'm going to adjust my microphone slightly. There we go. One thing to be mindful of is other people's perceptions of why you are hoarding resources, such that they understand that things are being accrued for a project in particular and not just because you are trying to hoard them. Here in your hopes and fears, Aries, we do have the pilgrimage card showing up in the reverse. You might be afraid that in order to accrue the resources that you want, that it's going to cut down on your mobility. So a pilgrimage can be a trip taken, especially a trip for spiritual reasons. So perhaps there is a spiritual endeavor that you'd like to take part in, but you're afraid that if you do that, you won't have the resources you need. I don't think that's the case. And especially when you're working with a group of collaborators, you don't have to be the one to provide all of the resources. Other people coming into this project will most likely be contributing some to it. Here in the midheaven, we have a very good card. So coming out of this meditation, the incubation stage of your project, Aries, we do have communion. This can represent, and this is Mars energy, by the way, so there is action being taken now. The communion can represent something like marriage, can also represent business contracts, represents people coming together in a way that is substantiated. So having people coming together as a group to perform a ritual or to actually take communion or to sign a business agreement or coming together in a marriage. So that is going to be the result of all of the processes leading up to that goal or destiny. Your final outcome, Aries, we have another Mars energy card. So that's your ruling planet of Mars. And our last two cards are all about the action that comes with that Mars energy. We have examination in the reverse. This is the weighing out. And I think this is partially speaking to the fact that everything is not going to be equal here. That you are taking a much more directorial role in this project based on your prior experiences, right? So you're the one who's kind of putting these resources together because you want to have this project be successful. You could also be not giving enough of your energy to other people to really draw them in. And so that being these two cards coming out together in the current situation, you're attracting people to you, but they don't feel drawn in by you. So that's going to be the key to this versatility card in the future, is going to be allowing yourself to open up to other people so that you can draw them into this business arrangement or this arrangement overall. And the examination card does talk about the weighing of the heart, and the heart must weigh exactly the same as a feather, or you will be devoured by Amit, who is down here at the bottom. and not get to see the afterlife, do not pass go, do not collect $200. That is in opposition to where we have the star card here. And again, she's pouring out these two vessels, one back into the social group and one into her own endeavors, right? So perhaps there needs to be an equalization there as well between the amount of effort that you're putting into your own works and the amount of work that you have committed to other people for their projects, such that overall you're creating this ecosystem. Excuse me. But that everyone feels supported within that group. So now I'm going to move on to the cards against humanity portion of the reading. Alternative medicine is now embracing the curative powers of getting crushed by a vending machine. They do often have like types of massage where somebody will actually walk on your back. And there are things like weighted blankets and other items that are meant to compress the physical form in a way that is comforting and soothing. So you might benefit from that at this time. Alternative medicine is now embracing the curative powers of me time. So I consider apotropaic magic to be a form of self-care. I didn't realize that was a controversial opinion, but people will definitely use any excuse to talk down to others on the internet. So I consider apotropaic magic to be a form of self-care. If you do not, you don't have to be here. And then alternative medicine is now embracing the curative powers of a word that I'm not really going to use in the video. I will show you the abbreviation. It is something that refers to bodily fluids that have been allowed to dry down to a gummy state, perhaps in one's underwear. And I suppose there's curative powers to all kinds of bodily fluids. And I invite you to find the ones that you like the best. And remember that sharing is caring. So that is going to conclude the Aries reading for this week. Thank you for joining me for the fire sign readings today. I know we're doing things a little bit off schedule. I'm trying to get into some different routines as I get settled in this new place. I've had a lot of life changes over the past couple months or so, and it really has affected my life profoundly. So I do greatly appreciate your support at this time. It means a lot to me. We are going to be moving on to the sign of Leo. Leo, we have just left your season. And are now beginning Virgo season. But don't worry, I'm sure you'll be here next year. Leo, if you would, go ahead and set your intention for the reading and allow any thoughts or ideas associated with that intention to rise up to the forefront of your mind, and just wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. Now, if there's anything about this that is stressful for you, or if you are gosh, we got a lot of reversals in your reading this week, Leo. If you are experiencing physical discomfort or anything like that, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. So as you inhale, draw in divine source energy along with all those delicious, delicious oxygen molecules. Allow them to infiltrate all of your cells, go into your mitochondria and take part in the electron transport chain. We're just going to bounce that electron right through the electron transport chain, and it is going to push all of that lower vibrational energy and junk that you're ready to get rid of right to the end, where we're going to create that CO2 molecule to carry everything out of the body. Just release it back to source, and it will be transmuted. So I'm going to write down your timestamp. And we will get started. So in this deck, the Justice card is Saturn in Capricorn energy. Very business related, very practical. So there is still a matter of balance here, but we're also looking at the repercussions of our business affairs, right? Such that every part of the financial ecosystem must be in order and in balance in order to maintain proper equilibrium and have everybody be successful. The Justice card showing up in the reverse here could indicate that at some point in the past you did obtain justice in something, and that the card is showing up reversed because that particular situation has ended and we are now moving on to other things. Likewise, there could be injustices that you have left in the past. But what we're talking about overall is that everyone being in balance with each other. So whether that was the case or whether that was not the case, that particular situation is behind you now. We're moving into the place of the significator. And I say it like that because this is a general reading. So if I were doing a one-on-one reading, I would get much more specific with information like that. Here in the place of the significator, we have the uncertainty card, and this card is showing up reversed. So I think, now this is Plutonian energy. I think it's possible that you're actually quite certain about something in the current situation, but that perhaps there is some self-deception going on. What we have in this card is a soul in the Duat, and it has become fractured between the higher self the superego and the id kind of parting ways. So the ego has fractured itself into the superego and the id. And those two aspects are being drawn in two separate directions because there has been an inability to reconcile that energy somehow. That card is crossed by what is the death card in this deck? Immortality. This is Mercury in Gemini energy. So reconciling duality coming up again. The immortality card being about a renewal of a cycle. You can see that all of these sheaves of wheat are kind of brown and they're dead and they're ready to be harvested. But as this sheaf falls, it actually is green, it's renewed. And we see little sprigs coming up all around. So there is a renewal going on for you, and you might think, again, we've got that Plutonian energy, very much about transformation. You might think that things are much more uncertain around you than they really are, and it's that reconciliation of dualities within the self and without the self as well that is really going to clarify things for you. Here in the Imam Silai, Leo, we have the advice card. Now this is Venus energy, so love, beauty, also good financial standing. We have the one figure here who has come to this scribe for help and advice. This could possibly be a priest of some kind. I don't particularly recognize that dress. And of course, down here, I believe this to be Wepwawet, who is the opener of ways and brother to Anubis. So this advice down here in the Imam Silai is really going to clear up that uncertainty for you. And especially if that is in regards to this situation from the past. From your perspective, Leo, we have another Venus card, and it is showing up in the reverse. The Weaver is about traditionally feminine work. So we do have Isis suckling Horus as an infant here in the corner. We have this person weaving. These would be like more passive roles, possibly, in employment situations as well, since we're coming to a point where there really isn't like traditionally women's jobs anymore. Everybody kind of does whatever job is available to them. I'm not saying that sexism no longer exists in the workplace. I'm just saying that we're getting away from that. So supporting roles in employment situations, I think you're leaving those behind in favor perhaps of more like a managerial role, or it could also be that a type of work that you've done for some time, you're leaving it behind. Here, from an outside person's perspective looking in, Leo, we have the unexpected, and this card is reversed again. So there's scorpionic energies here, there's Mars energy associated with this card, there's action being taken, and we do have a archer here with their bow drawn. We have this god up at the top of the card who has their head turned around such that they can see behind them. I believe there's a character, there's one of the gods that you appeal to in the 42 Confessions who has their head facing backwards. Let me see if I can look it up in the book and see if it actually says who that is. But the important part is, okay, so they are saying this is the goddess Mayet, but clearly that is a masculine deity. Now, I'm not saying anything about gender specifically, but I'm not sure why they put a beard on this depiction of Mayet, other than the Martian energy of the card and the very active energy overall. Uh, but the idea that time moves in two directions allows us to see things along that continuum all at once, if that makes sense. People might be perceiving about you at this time, Leo, that there's something you really should have seen coming, and that you pretending ignorance isn't really going to get you anywhere. This person might be the one giving you advice, and I feel like they do have a lot of compassion for you. It's not like this person doesn't want to help you, just that they cannot possibly imagine how you didn't foresee this coming to pass. Here in the future, we have the card of exchange. And again, this is reversed. This is a Jupiterian energy. This could be reversed because it is a potential energy. So that exchange, separately, this person has some fowl and this person has some fruits and vegetables, but together they have the preparations for a feast. So that exchange of energies and exchange of goods causes a growth and a development overall, and is the continuation, possibly, of where we have justice in the past. There could be a resolution of that situation then, maybe even an arbitration between two people. Here in your hopes and fears, we have arts and sciences in the reverse. You might be afraid that this is a path that's no longer open to you. This would be about art, science, could be about higher education. This is a solar energy. We do have the god of education, Thoth, appearing here as a baboon. And this is in opposition to where we have the weaver. So, from your perspective, I feel like some of you could be leaving a field. Specifically, this could be something like nursing, um, but it could also be related to the artistic side of things. Maybe even if you're like a dancer in some capacity, that you're afraid to leave that behind. Here in the midheaven, we have the potential for great happiness for you, Leo. Now, typically this is your card, but in this particular deck, it is Pluto in Sagittarius energy. So, a transformation of the spiritual self, a transformation that causes you to ascend to a higher level. And this is going to be the result of this advice. So to me, it's like if you take the advice, you can have great success. If you don't take the advice, you'll still be quite content with the outcome, but possibly a little less than if you had taken the advice. And I really think that's going to have to do with whatever this exchange represents between you and another person or among a group of people. Your final outcome for this reading, Leo, is the Strength card. Typically, this is your card in the deck. We do have the lion depicted here. In this particular deck, this is Sun in Aries energy. And the Strength card is all about your powers of persuasion, as well as your physical strength, as well as your manifesting strength, your capability as a conjurer. All of those things can be illustrated by the Strength card, and where this woman has placed her hands very gently into the open and very dangerous mouth of this lion. So, the key in this situation, where it's something you really should have seen coming, and hindsight being 2020, is going to be expressing your strength. So now we're going to move on to the Cards Against Humanity portion of the reading. Dear Abby, I'm having some trouble with blank and would like your advice. Dear Abby, I am having some trouble with a fetus and would like your advice. I'm going to read the next one because they kind of go together. Dear Abby, I'm having some trouble with a fetus and menstrual rage and would like your advice. So, for some of you, there could be a lack of access to reproductive health care that is causing problems for you at this time. Dear Abby, I'm having some trouble with a falcon with a cap on its head and would like your advice. Additionally, we're talking about advice, right? Receiving advice, soliciting advice. So, falcon with a cap on its head. That could have to do with feeling predated from above, like there's a bird of prey. It could be a reference to the Nine of Pentacles as well. Remember, she's got a little falcon with a cap on its head. She has the time and energy to dedicate to training that falcon. But if you don't have that time and energy, maybe you're resorting to asking Abby or another trusted confidant for advice. So that is going to conclude the Leo reading for this week. Thank you so much for your support, for your likes, your shares, your subscriptions, ringing the bell so you know when I go live. Thank you. I will be going after this over to the members side of the channel to do some crystal scrying, and channel members who tune in to the live stream, I can do readings for you live over there. So now we're going to move on to the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, if you would like, go ahead and set your intention while I shuffle the cards. And allow any thoughts and ideas around that intention to rise up to the forefront of your mind, and just wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. Even if I don't do a very good job. Sometimes these things that we come to tarot readers for, it's because they are stressful to us, or there's some kind of anxiety surrounding the issue. Additionally, maybe there are things that you're ready to let go of. Maybe you're even experiencing physical discomfort. If that is the case, I invite you, Sagittarius, to gently breathe through that energy. So, as you inhale, draw in the divine light of Source in the form of delicious CO2, in the form of delicious oxygen molecules. And then allow that oxygen to infiltrate your cells right down to the level of the mitochondria. And we're going to be sending that one of those electrons from that oxygen through the electron transport chain in your mitochondria. And as that oxygen bounces through the electron transport chain, it's going to push anything that you're ready to get rid of right along to the end, so that when we release that CO2, we just release all of those waste products. They will return to Source, and they will be transmuted. So, oh, Sagittarius, yours is getting a little sexy. That's fun. Okay, your timestamp. We'll record that. So let's get started here in the past. And the card that we have in the past for you, Sagittarius, we have this Saturnian card of proscription. You can see that this ruler has the flail raised above his head in order to keep people in line. We're not using the guarding and the guiding influence of the crook, the shepherd's crook. Here we are using the force and the proscription of the flail. There might have been a period of time in the past for you, Sagittarius. Maybe you were the manager at a job. Maybe you were kind of a bully in high school. This would have been a period of time in your life where you might have been kind of harsh towards others as a way of controlling them. But I see that you've left that behind you, which is a good step toward the current situation. And what we have in the place of the significator, Sagittarius, is preeminence. And this is a Venusian energy. This is the energy of the planet Venus, which is good for romance and finance. People are more than happy to carry you on their shoulders, Sagittarius. People want to place you above them. Maybe it's because of your charm. Maybe it's because they just like you a lot. But it's certainly not because you had to force them to do that. So, the crossing energy is veneration. and this is Uranus energy. Veneration is about communion with the higher power. So, Sagittarius, there might be situations, maybe this is within a religious organization, or perhaps uh, because of your grace, you just give extra glory to your higher power at every opportunity. But at the particular time, I see that you are very blessed with these two cards together. Here in the Imam Silai, so this is going to be the foundations upon which the future destiny energies are built. And the card we have, there's another Saturnian energy of hostility. And because this card is reversed, I take that to mean, again, that you're leaving that kind of belligerent and bellicose energy behind you in favor of warmth, in favor of, if you would, generosity. So, this is your perception of the current situation. And this is a Jupiterian uh, card. And it has to do with, again, it's very similar to this card about veneration, where we're giving glory to the higher power. Here, we're giving offerings to the higher power on this card, but generosity could also be something that is expressed to your friends, your peer group, the people around you, your coworkers, your employees, etc., the people around you. Down here in the opinions of others, so how others are perceiving the current situation. They perceive possibly a lack of balance. Typically, the Temperance card is your card, Sagittarius. However, in this deck, we're looking at Jupiter in Cancer. So, this is a card about expansion of the emotional reciprocity with others. But where we see this card in the reverse, from the outside looking in on this situation, people might perceive that you have not rehearsed your role enough, or they might perceive that there is a lack of balance, or that you at this time are not walking in moderation. And in fact, we do have these two extremes here, where if you were very harsh with people in the past, and then you turn around and you're very generous and loving and open, people might be getting whiplash from that. So just be mindful that people you have dealt with in the past are going to have a certain image of you in their minds and in their hearts that is going to need to be overcome. Hi, Maria. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you again. I certainly don't shy away from large words. Here in the future, we have expressiveness. Now, this is interesting because it's not a mercurial energy, it is a Saturnian energy, showing that the expressiveness of the self is establishment of the self, right? Expressiveness can only exist as an extension of the concrete, of who we already are. Now we see this card showing up in the reverse in the future. So the potential is there for you to express yourself in all your glory in the future. But also be mindful that perhaps expression is not the way forward for you. That perhaps because of this emotional whiplash that's going on, that you might need to withdraw your expressiveness just a little bit and meet it out. So, because we have that Saturnian energy, remember it's a very slow moving energy and it's very cautious. In your hopes and fears, Sagittarius, we have the Moon card. This is about artistic endeavors. It's also about being uncertain of the path forward. So perhaps you think that you're not aware of the path that you need to take forward. But I think that you very much are. I think the key is being kind, Sagittarius. You don't need to give people the very shirt off your back, but where you are able to be generous and it is helpful to people, that is the way forward. So I think you do know the way forward. But I think this card is showing up in your hopes and fears because perhaps you don't think that you do. So now we're looking at the result of where we see hostility in the Imam Silai in the reverse, that we're leaving that way of life behind. That's going to open up the potential for the Magician. But again, this is a future placement card and it's reversed. And in this particular deck, this is Sun in Leo energy. We have just left Leo season. So there could also be a manifestation that you have been putting into place in regards to leaving this behind, that in the future will be coming to fruition, but you don't yet see the mechanism by which that will happen. Or perhaps you're in the process of this manifestation right now because we are just now entering Virgo season from Leo season. So that's a possibility also. But that perhaps in the past you had been using, if you look at the body language of these two characters, it's very similar, right? Here he's holding up that wand very forcefully, and here holding the crook. And in fact, the wand is that active energy, that potency, that power. So you're going to have to find different sources to tap into for your manifestation if a lot of the energy that you were transmuting was coming from this kind of strife between yourself and other people. But the final outcome for this is very good. It is revelation, and it is in the upright. Here we have the child Horus giving the sign of silence, which kind of shows his precociousness, shows that he did have to hide from his uncle, Set. And we have Thoth above this card. So we're walking through this threshold into a new understanding. And this is mercurial energy. We had a lot of Saturnian energy in your reading, Sagittarius, which can be very slowing, very solidifying. So that mercurial energy is there to open things back up for you. So be open to revelation. And this might be also in regards to where there might be a lack of practice going on. So there might be something that needs to take place within your practice, whether it's rehearsing a musical performance, practicing certain techniques, brushwork, line work, things like that. It doesn't have to be related to your artistic endeavors. It could even be practicing driving or something like that. That rehearsal is going to lead you to that revelation. So now we're going to move on to the Cards Against Humanity portion of the reading. A romantic candlelit dinner would be incomplete without sexy pillow fights. I agree with that. I think a sexy pillow fight could definitely make a romantic candlelit dinner better. Within reason, of course. You want to time those activities correctly. You might want to have the pillow fight maybe like an hour after eating so nobody gets an upset stomach. A romantic candlelit dinner would be incomplete without peeing a little bit. Well, that's up to you, of course. Everybody's tastes are different. But do always go to the bathroom when you need to go. Don't hold it. And do stay hydrated. A romantic candlelit dinner would be incomplete without Keanu Reeves. Well, Sagittarius, I think that's something we can all agree upon. And I'm going to conclude your reading for this week right there. Thank you so much for joining me today for the fire sign readings. I will be going over to the member side of the channel now to do some crystal scrying. I can't get anything to focus in this video. Sorry. Alright, let's see. There we go. With this piece of mica from Simi Valley, it's a semi-translucent, it's very sparkly. I like it a lot. If that interests you, you're cordially invited. But of course, your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes.